Good morning, everyone. My name is Erica, and today, on behalf of my team, I will be presenting our final project on mainstreaming marine protected areas in the Insular Caribbean. Before I dive in, I would like to take a moment to thank my wonderful team for their hard work this semester, and also our faculty advisor, Shannon Doherty, for her constant support. So I will begin with a brief introduction of the regional context, the key issues, and our client. Then I'll talk about the methodology, analysis, and results, some limitations that we faced, and I'll present a case study and conclude with our policy recommendations. So the Insular Caribbean is divided into three groups of islands: the Bahamas, the Greater Antilles, and the Lesser Antilles, which are more like down here. But our project specifically focuses on the Greater Antilles, which is the area you see highlighted in yellow, and includes the countries of Cuba, Jamaica, Haiti, and the Dominican Republic. Together, these countries hold most of the region's biodiversity, marine biodiversity, and although they vary in size, political status, and cultural background, they all face similar environmental challenges. A defining feature of this region is the heavy reliance on marine ecosystems. For instance, in Jamaica, tourism accounts for 25% of the employment. In the Dominican Republic, fish accounts for 16% of the animal protein intake. Cuba has one of the largest coral reefs, which also supports the local economy. And in Haiti, 60% of the population lives by the coastline. But this heavy reliance on marine ecosystem places a significant pressure in the ecosystems, and issues associated with economic risks, resource depletion, and ecosystem loss are very common. For instance, on average, the Caribbean loses 70% of their GDP due to storm damages that are being exacerbated by climate change. And also, it is estimated that if countries continue business as usual, by 2050, they will face a seafood deficit. And finally, 30% of the Caribbean salt marshes and mangroves and 50% of the coral reefs are being degraded or lost. To address these challenges, the 30 by 30 target of the coming Montreal Global Biodiversity Framework was adopted under the COP15 in 2022. And under this framework, countries are committed to protect 30% of their land and water by 2030, especially areas that are important for biodiversity conservation and ecosystems health. And this must be done through a holistic and equitable governance. So since its adoption, the 4 countries have all pledged to work towards this very ambitious goal. But achieving the 30 by 30 target requires substantial resources, scientific expertise, education and regional cooperation. So to support these efforts, our client, the Wildlife Conservation Society, has been working closely with these countries to provide the necessary resources. Our task as consultants has been to identify policy gaps and develop policy recommendations to integrate marine protected areas into the regional policy agendas of these 4 countries in order for them to achieve their 30 by 30 goals. So we began with a literature review to understand the political, social, economic, and environmental context of the region. And then we analyzed over 20 national and regional frameworks related to conservation policies. And we created a multi-country matrix, which is basically a spreadsheet document with 51 variables that showcase our findings. And these variables were analyzed for each country individually. Some examples of those variables include climate refugia, which assesses the regional coral protection, and another example is the coverage of blue carbon ecosystems. Blue carbon ecosystems are mangroves and salt marshes. And then after we summarized all this information in the matrix, we started to see the shortfalls and opportunities for the region, and when we used those to create our 10 policy recommendations. So diving a little bit deeper into the policy analysis, because it was one of our main tasks, we divided those in the national and regional frameworks. At the national level, we looked at, for example, the national adaptational plans of each country, or NAPs. These are basically plans to integrate climate adaptations, but we learned that most countries have their NAPs outdated. But the Dominican Republic is the only country that integrates marine protected areas into their NAPs. At the regional level, we looked at, for example, the Caribbean Challenge Initiative, which is a financial mechanism that supports coastal conservation, and all countries except Cuba are members. And finally, the Special Protected Area and Wildlife Protocol, which its main goal is to safeguard biodiversity and protect endangered species, and they also set obligations for country members to regulate and prohibit actions that may harm species. But under this framework, only Cuba and the Dominican Republic are members. So throughout this comprehensive research, we began to see these different regional trends, and we were also able to identify the percentage of marine protected areas that each country has under protection right now. For Cuba is 4%, Jamaica 1%, Haiti 3%, and the Dominican Republic 12%. Throughout our research, we started to see that the Dominican Republic stands out as a regional leader, and later we are going to learn what they are doing different. But of course, as any research, we faced limitations during our conducting our work, and we wanted to be transparent about those issues, which are related mostly with data accessibility and data reliability, because most countries or some countries are hesitant to share their data due to political concerns or safety concerns that are usually related to political issues. Therefore, finding information or reliable sources of information was challenging. And also, due to time constraints, we were unable to conduct stakeholder interviews because there is an internal protocol in our organization that requires that approval before we reach out to the stakeholders, and we wanted to be respectful of those protocols. But even so, we were able to identify powerful examples of the great work some countries are doing in the region. And this can be exemplified in the case study of Bancos de la Plata y la Navidad Marine Mammal Sanctuary. This is a sanctuary in the Dominican Republic, located in the northeast part of the country. And this is the first marine protected area for cetaceans in the Atlantic Ocean. Cetaceans are whales, dolphins, and other marine organisms such as belugas. And this is the sanctuary for the largest population of the North Atlantic humpback whale, which is a threatened species. And basically, its success is related to a targeted action plan that involves strong community participation, research and monitoring, partnerships, and enforcement of whale watching regulations, which is integrated into the NAPs that I was mentioning before. So we believe this is a framework that can be applied in the other countries in order for them to increase those percentages and get closer to their 30 by 30 goals. So building on what we have learned, we developed our 10 policy recommendations, which we divided into 3 categories: financial, technology, and science, and social. For financial, for example, we believe that developing a regional blue carbon integration strategy to strengthen blue carbon ecosystems, mangroves and salt marshes, is important, because these countries haven't yet used carbon finance to support these rich blue carbon ecosystems. And these ecosystems are not only important for carbon storage, but they also help countries to fight climate change, such as sea level rise, and they also provide important habitats for endangered species. Then for the technology and science, partnering with higher education institutions to integrate technologies such as GIS and AI is important, because, as I mentioned before, we faced issues with data reliability. And we believe that these higher education institutions have the technologies and resources to conduct high-quality research, which is important to take decisions related to marine protected area expansion. And also partnering with them will help the countries to save some resources and keep working at the regional scale. And finally, for social, partnering with NGOs to develop marine conservation education programs for locals and tourists is important, because as it was highlighted during the case study, strong community involvement is key for these programs to succeed. So NGOs can help to create engaging, locally relevant education programs that can raise awareness, build stewardship, and promote sustainable practices among both the residents and the tourists. So I hope you have learned a little bit about the Insular Caribbean. Many challenges, but incredible opportunities to keep working towards protecting these very important ecosystems. I am open to questions now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for a great presentation, Erica. I'm really impressed that you have this spreadsheet of 51 variables. How did you get information for all of those given the limitations on data?
Yeah, so our client provide important resources for us, resources that are reliable. So most of these variables were analyzed using those resources. We also did some external research, but of course we always have to make sure that those were reliable, right? That the data we were using was reliable. So that's how we did it. Thank you.
Wonderful presentation, Erica. Thank you very much. I was wondering because in your research, the area of focus was the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, and
Jamaica.
Jamaica. Thank you. So because you showed like the Caribbean and like the different categories, is there a need with your client to like expand the research and your findings and what they're trying to implement to also the greater area in the Caribbean, going to the Bahamas that you mentioned, or is it just focusing on those 4 regions that you mentioned?
Right now, in this project specifically focus on the region that we highlighted here in these 4 countries, because the other countries in the Caribbean already have plans for integrating marine protected areas. So these countries specifically, Jamaica and Haiti and Cuba, are usually not integrated into the other projects, so that's why they put them together and they want to create a project specifically to address the needs of these 4 countries.
I have one more